Few names echo through history like Napoleon Bonaparte. Born on a small island, he rose to conquer nations and reshape Europe. His story is one of ambition, military genius, and a hunger for power. Napoleon's journey began on the island of Corsica. He quickly rose through the ranks of the French army during the French Revolution. By 30, he had become the most powerful man in France. Napoleon's story is not just about military conquests. His legal reforms continue to shape modern law. He was a complex figure, embodying both brilliance and cruelty. Born in Corsica, Napoleon was shaped by its spirit of defiance. His family was of minor nobility, and he grew up with a competitive spirit. The island's beauty and strength sowed the seeds of his ambition. At 9, Napoleon left Corsica for a military academy in France. Despite challenges, he excelled in his studies and developed his military genius. The French Revolution provided the perfect stage for his ambition. The French Revolution created chaos and opportunity. Napoleon joined the French army and witnessed the nation's turmoil. He waited for his moment to seize his destiny. In 1793, Napoleon's moment arrived with the siege of Toulon. His strategic brilliance led to a stunning victory, catapulting him to prominence. He became a rising star in the French army. Napoleon's Italian campaign cemented his reputation as a military genius. He employed speed and surprise, leading to decisive victories. He became the most celebrated soldier of his generation. Napoleon's ambition led him to Egypt, envisioning a vast empire. The expedition was both a military campaign and a scholarly endeavor. Despite initial victories, his dreams were soon challenged. Pyramids and battles. Napoleon's gamble in the sands. While Napoleon had achieved initial success in Egypt, his campaign was about to encounter a formidable obstacle: the British Navy. Admiral Horatio Nelson, a brilliant and determined naval commander, had been dispatched to counter the French presence in the Mediterranean. Nelson, relentless in his pursuit, cornered the French fleet at anchor in Aboukir Bay, near Alexandria. The ensuing Battle of the Nile, fought on August 1, 1798, was a disaster for Napoleon and his ambitions in the East. Nelson's ships, employing superior tactics and firepower, decimated the French fleet, sinking or capturing most of Napoleon's ships. The French army in Egypt, victorious on land but stranded far from home, was now isolated, cut off from reinforcements and supplies. Despite this setback, Napoleon pressed on, determined to make the most of his precarious situation. He led his army further east, engaging in a series of skirmishes and battles against Ottoman forces. He laid siege to the city of Acre, hoping to secure a strategic port on the Mediterranean coast. However, the siege proved costly and ultimately unsuccessful, forcing Napoleon to withdraw to Egypt. Napoleon's time in Egypt was a strange mix of military adventure, scientific discovery, and political maneuvering. His scholars unearthed the Rosetta Stone, a key to deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, a discovery that would revolutionize our understanding of this ancient civilization. Yet the political situation in Europe was shifting, and Napoleon, sensing opportunity amidst the turmoil, would soon make a fateful decision. By 1799, the political landscape in France had shifted once more. The Directory was plagued by corruption and inefficiency. France, at war with Austria, seemed on the brink of collapse. News reached Napoleon in Egypt, and he saw an opportunity. He embarked on a daring escape, sailing across the Mediterranean. His return to France in October 1799 was a triumph. He was greeted as a conquering hero. The French people saw in Napoleon a strong leader. Napoleon seized the moment. He orchestrated a coup d'état, establishing the consulate. Napoleon had become the most powerful man in France. The Egyptian expedition enhanced Napoleon's legend. He returned as a romantic hero, stronger than ever. He recognized his destiny lay in Paris. France was ready for a new leader. Napoleon Bonaparte was ready to answer that call. Napoleon Bonaparte, the triumphant general who had returned from the sands of Egypt, now stood at the helm of a nation yearning for stability. France, weary of the chaos and bloodshed of the revolution, saw in him a beacon of hope. Napoleon, ever the astute politician, set about consolidating his power, transforming himself from a military hero into an emperor. As first consul, Napoleon held the reins of power firmly in his grasp. He reorganized the government, streamlining its bureaucracy and implementing much-needed reforms. In 1804, at Notre Dame Cathedral, Napoleon crowned himself Emperor of the French, solidifying his grip on power. He donned a laurel wreath, echoing the Roman emperors, and took the crown from Pope Pius VII, placing it upon his own head. Napoleon's reign was marked by a relentless drive to reshape France in his own image. He was a man of action, a tireless worker who demanded efficiency and results from those who served him. He viewed himself as a modernizer, an enlightened despot who would drag France, kicking and screaming if necessary, into a new age of progress. His reforms touched every aspect of French life. He invested heavily in infrastructure, building roads, canals and bridges that connected the far-flung corners of his empire. He reformed the education system, establishing lycées, secondary schools that provided a rigorous education based on merit rather than birthright. He promoted science and the arts, sponsoring expeditions, commissioning grand monuments and establishing museums to showcase France's cultural heritage. Napoleon's vision for France extended beyond its borders. He sought to spread the ideals of the revolution, liberty, equality, fraternity throughout Europe, albeit often at the point of a bayonet. He waged war after war, his armies marching from the shores of Spain to the icy plains of Russia, seeking to expand French power and influence. He installed his relatives on the thrones of conquered nations, creating a dynasty that he hoped would secure his legacy for generations to come. Yet for all his reforms and conquests, Napoleon's rule was not without its critics. His wars, though initially popular, became increasingly costly in terms of both lives and resources. His authoritarian tendencies grew, silencing dissent and curtailing personal liberties in the name of order and security. The seeds of discontent sown in the shadows of his triumphs would eventually blossom into rebellion. Section 3. Josephine, a love story for the ages. Amidst the pomp and circumstance of Napoleon's imperial court, one woman held a special place in his heart, Josephine de Beauharnais. Theirs was a love story for the ages, a passionate and tumultuous affair that captivated the imagination of France and continues to fascinate historians to this day. Josephine was a woman of grace, intelligence, and undeniable charm. She was older than Napoleon, widowed during the Revolution, and already a mother of 2 children. Yet Napoleon was smitten with her, drawn to her elegance and her quick wit. Their courtship was passionate and whirlwind, culminating in their marriage in 1796. Their relationship, however, was not without its challenges. Josephine, accustomed to the social whirl of Parisian salons, chafed at times under the constraints of being married to the most powerful man in France. Rumours of her infidelity reached Napoleon's ears, fueling his legendary jealousy and leading to periods of estrangement. Yet through it all, their love for each other remained. Josephine provided Napoleon with companionship, understanding, and a connection to the world beyond the battlefield and the halls of power. He in turn adored her, showering her with gifts and affection. Their letters, filled with longing and tenderness, offer a glimpse into the private world of a couple whose love transcended the extraordinary circumstances of their lives. Section 4. Seeds of Doubt, Cracks in the Imperial Facade. Napoleon's reign, for all its grandeur, was not without its shadows. His wars, initially greeted with enthusiasm, became increasingly unpopular as the years wore on and the casualties mounted. The French people, weary of conflict and economic hardship, began to question the cost of their emperor's ambitions. Within his own court, whispers of dissent began to circulate. Napoleon's insatiable thirst for power and his increasingly autocratic tendencies alienated some of his closest advisors. The republican ideals that had fueled the revolution seemed increasingly distant under his rule. Perhaps the most significant crack in Napoleon's facade of invincibility came in his personal life. Josephine, despite their deep affection for each other, was unable to provide him with an heir. The lack of a son to inherit his throne weighed heavily on Napoleon, who yearned for a dynasty that would outlive him. In 1809, after years of agonizing over the decision, Napoleon divorced Josephine, breaking her heart and sending shockwaves through French society. He then married Marie-Louise, the young daughter of the Austrian emperor, in a political alliance designed to secure his empire. The birth of their son, Napoleon II, seemed to fulfill Napoleon's dynastic ambitions. However, fate, as it often does, had other plans. The seeds of doubt, sown in the shadows of Napoleon's triumphs, were beginning to sprout. His empire, vast and seemingly invincible, was about to face its greatest test, a test that would ultimately bring about its downfall. Section 1. The Retreat from Moscow, the beginning of the end. By 1812, Napoleon's empire stretched across Europe, a testament to his military genius and insatiable ambition. Yet the seeds of his downfall had already been sown. His relentless campaigns had drained France's resources and manpower. The invasion of Russia, launched in the summer of 1812, would prove to be his undoing. Napoleon's Grande Armée, a vast force of over 600,000 men, crossed the Niemen River into Russia. The invasion was met with a scorched earth policy as the Russians retreated eastward. Napoleon pressed on, his supply lines stretching thin across the vast Russian landscape. The Battle of Borodino, fought in September 1812, was a Pyrrhic victory for Napoleon. The French army, though victorious, suffered heavy casualties. Napoleon entered Moscow only to find it largely deserted and ablaze. The Russians had refused to negotiate, and Napoleon, facing a long and brutal winter, was forced to order a retreat. The retreat from Moscow was a nightmare. The Russian winter descended with a vengeance, blanketing the land in snow and ice. Temperatures plummeted, food ran scarce, and disease ravaged the ranks of the starving and exhausted French army. Cossack cavalry harried their flanks, picking off stragglers and launching lightning raids. Of the more than 600,000 men who had crossed into Russia, only a fraction would ever see France again. Section 2. Exile and Aftermath. The Prisoner of Destiny. The disastrous Russian campaign marked the beginning of the end for Napoleon's empire. Weakened and demoralized, his armies faced a resurgent coalition of European powers determined to end his domination. In 1814, after a series of defeats, Napoleon's enemies marched into Paris, forcing him to abdicate and accept exile on the island of Elba, a tiny speck of land off the coast of Italy. Even in defeat, Napoleon's charisma and ambition remained undimmed. He escaped from Elba in 1815, landing in France with a handful of loyal followers and rallying his former soldiers to his cause. The 100 Days, as this brief period is known, ended with Napoleon's final defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in June 1815. This time, there would be no escape, no triumphant return. Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic, a prisoner of the British Empire. His remaining years were spent in isolation, dictating his memoirs and reflecting on his extraordinary life. He died on May 5, 1821, at the age of 51, his death attributed to various ailments, including stomach cancer. The news of Napoleon's death sent shockwaves across Europe and beyond. For some, he remained a tyrant, a ruthless conqueror who had plunged Europe into decades of war. For others, he was a tragic hero, a man of immense talent and ambition who had been ultimately undone by his own hubris. Section 3. The Napoleonic legend, an enduring legacy. Napoleon Bonaparte's life was a tapestry of triumphs and tragedies. He rose from humble beginnings to conquer nations and reshape Europe. His military genius is undeniable. Napoleon's tactics transformed warfare. His victories became legendary. Beyond the battlefield, his legacy is complex. The Napoleonic Code modernized French law. His reforms streamlined the French bureaucracy, yet his legacy is also intertwined with war's devastation. His conquests brought suffering and upheaval. Napoleon was a man of contradictions, a visionary leader and a tragic hero. His life continues to inspire debate and fascination. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoy this content, please support the channel by subscribing to this channel. Also, please don't forget to like and share this video.